frequent extreme weather in China. Guangdong hit by a once-in-a-century rainstorm. Flooding ravages cities and villages. A landmark building struck by lightning 6 times in 1 hour. Wind so strong that people got swept out of their homes. Scenes reminiscent of Doomsday. Recently, South China has been hit by a once-in-a-century heavy rainfall. Many places have been devastated by torrential downpours, with Guangdong province being particularly hard hit. Even the official meteorological department exclaimed, "It's raining like crazy in Guangdong." So far, the torrential rains have left at least 4 people dead and many missing. But this is just a prelude. The strongest part of the current round of rainfall is yet to come. Canton Tower is a landmark building in Guangzhou. With a height of 600 meters, the tower is the second tallest in the world after the Tokyo Skytree. According to the official account of Guangdong weather, the tower, which is the pride of Guangdong, was struck by lightning 6 times between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. on April 20th in a scene that resembles a sci-fi blockbuster. Interestingly, the tower has the nickname Little Waste. People made a pun and asked if Guangdong province's Little Waste was struck by lightning 6 times, would the body still stand? The same thunder and lightning occurred in Shenzhen, the city next to Hong Kong. It was much scarier. On the evening of April 24th, affected by strong thunderstorm clouds, multiple lightning strikes occurred over Shenzhen. Within just 3 hours, from 8 to 11 p.m., as many as 1,251 lightning strikes were recorded. Citizens filmed the white light repeatedly flashing across the sky. The scene was so terrifying that people couldn't help screaming. Guangdong has been experiencing heavy, persistent, and extensive rainfall since April 18th, accompanied by powerful storms that have brought an early start to the region's annual May-June flooding season. Between April 20th and 21st, the north-central part of Guangdong, like Zhaoqing and Shaoguan, were hit by torrential to heavy rainfall. Except for certain parts in the east of Guangdong, the entire province was covered by thunderstorm clouds. A total of 70 rainstorm warnings and 65 thunderstorm and gale warnings were in effect across the province. 27 hydrological stations in the province are on super alert. The Provincial Hydrological Bureau forecasted that the Beijiang River Basin would experience flooding close to the one-in-a-century level due to heavy rainfall, and at 11 o'clock on April 21st, the water level of the tributary of the Beijiang River reached 34.83 meters, exceeding the warning level by 3.33 meters. It is expected that at 1 o'clock on April 22nd, the peak flow rate at Gaodao Station would be 9,000 cubic meters per second, close to the flood scale of once in a century. The water level would reach 37.3 meters, exceeding the warning level by 5.8 meters. In addition, on the night of April 22nd, a ship ran into the G240 National Highway, Jujiang Bridge, collided with a pier, and sank. It had a total of 11 crew members on board. 7 were rescued, and 4 went missing. According to the Guangzhou Daily, the cause of the accident in the preliminary investigation was the impact of flooding. The rising water led to misoperation, but the specific cause is still under investigation. Netizens revealed that this bridge was hit once before. It was broken and several people were killed. The strange thing was that an expert appraisal team arrived in the morning and then announced in the afternoon that there was no problem with the quality of the bridge. Online video shows the terrible scenes caused by the flood in Huaiji Jiaoqing. The streets were turned into a river. The first floor of some residential buildings were flooded. No rescue measures were seen from the government, and people evacuated on their own. In Qingyuan City, people suffered heavy losses. Many buildings had been flooded to the second floor, and floodwaters poured into the underground parking lot. Vehicles were driven like boats. Large tracts of farmland were inundated, destroying crops such as rice and potatoes. Another video shows the flooding in Shaoguan, a prefecture-level city and home to the mummified remains of the 6th Zen Buddhist patriarch Huineng. A wall in a residential neighborhood was washed down. Screams and yells were heard. Cars and bicycles got swept away as the floodwaters rushed through. People waded through floodwaters, helping each other as they struggled to move. On the flooded street, a man was seen pushing his scooter through the flood. He was submerged in the floodwaters with only his head above the water. Shenzhen Meteorological Station issued a code red, the highest level of rainstorm warning, at 11 a.m. on April 23rd. At that time, 7 districts in the city had been receiving continuous rainfall for 2 to 3 hours, and the cumulative rainfall had reached the level of torrential rain to heavy rainfall. Shenzhen Meteorological Station upgraded the above areas to rainstorm red warning, and the city entered a state of emergency. A netizen photographed Shenzhen's heavy rain with dark clouds pressing down. The city saw a dark night in seconds, like a scene from an apocalypse. On April 23rd, a netizen who filmed Shenzhen University shared online, "I admit I was scared. Dark clouds were all over the city. After a few moments, everything went white. It's just so scary." With the hashtag Shenzhen Rainstorm, a number of people posted on social media. The rain poured down like water with thunder. Is there any place in the whole of Guangdong where it doesn't rain and thunder? This rain is being thrown down from the sky. I am driven crazy by the Shenzhen rainstorm. Floods and landslides also hit many parts of Guangdong, with nearly 60,000 people evacuated and at least 11 missing. Guangdong is prone to flooding in summer, but this year's floods arrived earlier than usual. The extreme weather has also caused extensive delays in high-speed rail and airline flights. Guangzhou Baiyun Airport has long activated the yellow response, and many travelers have been stranded in the airport because of flight adjustments and groundings. So what other impacts will such extreme weather bring? According to China Weather News, it is expected that from April 25th to 26th, many parts of the region are expected to continue to experience heavy rain, such as eastern and southern Jiangxi, western and southern Fujian, east-central Guangxi, Guangdong, and other parts of the region. Some places have thunderstorm wind, hail, and other strong convective weather. The Yangtze River Flood Control Center said on April 23rd that it predicted that drought and flooding would coexist in the Yangtze River Basin during this year's flood season. Flooding would be heavier than drought, and larger floods were likely to occur in the main streams of the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River and the northern part of the Dongting Lake and Poyang Lake water systems. Are all these disasters due to heavy rains? The answer is no. Flood discharge without warning by the government has added to the disaster. Releasing floodwater without warning means the floodgates are quietly opened to discharge floodwater without notifying the public. It's something unthinkable in a democratic country. But CCP officials don't seem to care, as deadly flood discharges have been repeatedly happening. A terrible case happened in July 2023 when floods hit many parts of China. In order to save the Millennium Project, or Xi Jinping's pet project, Xiong'an New Area, from being flooded, Hebei officials ordered a no-warning flood discharge. Xiong'an is a new city that cost nearly $1 trillion but has hardly any people living in it. The flood inundated the entire city of Zhuozhou, causing countless casualties overnight, yet none of the 7 members of the CCP Standing Committee were present in the disaster zone. Official sources indicated that the top CCP officials were on vacation in Beidaihe at the time. Neither did Xi go to the flooded area. Instead, he sent 500 armed police to the flooded city, not for disaster relief, but to silence the people and keep the news of flooding in Zhuozhou from spreading in order to protect Xiong'an. Similarly, in this rainstorm, the Guangdong Hydrological Bureau said that on April 22nd, the Feilaixia Reservoir experienced a peak flow of 18,900 cubic meters per second, which happens only once in a century. The once-in-a-century flow is 19,200 cubic meters per second. Without any warning, the reservoir opened all 15 gates to discharge floodwater. It has led to a significant rise in water level downstream, and the Beijiang River was running at a high water level. In addition to the reservoir, other places discharged floodwaters as well. The Guangdong Provincial Water Resources Department said they were also scheduling flood discharge from 15 important water projects in the Beijiang River Basin and 12 terrace shipping hubs in the mainstream of the Lianjiang River. In an interview, a local resident, Ms. Chin, said, "I heard that there was flood discharge on the other side. It would flood our side for sure. It came quickly. No one thought floodwater would come this fast. We basically woke up and everything was flooded. The market is already inundated. So are the 2 streets to my work. There are cars parked there and some vehicles are submerged." Another local resident echoed, "Previously, the floodwaters rarely rose this high. It's mainly a result of flood discharge." Since the end of March, strong winds, heavy rains, and hailstorms have hit Jiangxi province, affecting more than 90,000 people. According to official data, as of noon on April 3rd, 7 people have been killed and more than 800 people have evacuated. The Jiangxi Provincial Emergency Flood Control Command said the strong winds and hailstorms have caused dozens of homes to collapse or suffer serious damage, with economic losses amounting to 150 million yuan. According to a video from Mirror Weekly, in the early morning of March 31st, strong winds suddenly appeared in Nanchang City, Jiangxi Province, and 3 high-rise residents were blown out of their apartments and fell to their deaths. 2 of them are a pair of a grandma who lives on the 20th floor, 64-year-old Miss Liu, and her 11-year-old grandson. They were asleep at the time. A strange, strong wind suddenly broke the floor-to-ceiling window of the bedroom and swept the 2 out of the building. Another victim was Miss Wan, who lived on the 11th floor. She was swept out in the middle of the night in her sleep after the gusts of wind blew off the floor-to-ceiling window. Her husband escaped because he slept in another room. In an interview, her husband said he rushed to get Ms. Wan in the middle of the night after being awakened by the wind and rain, but couldn't find her. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, a little short of 3. I was woken up by the sound of the wind and rain. I slept in a different room. When I woke up, I came out and saw the living room in a mess with the wind and rain blowing in. I rushed to the other room to call my wife. I called her name, but there was no sound. No one was there. Then the wind blew the door to the side. I felt around the bed and couldn't find anyone. I thought she went elsewhere to hide. On the same night, this was what happened to a mother and her child. The child was playing in the living room. Suddenly, the gust of wind shattered the entire floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room. The windows fell and almost hit the child, and the wind and rain instantly swept through the living room. The terrified mom screamed and rushed to carry her child to another room for shelter. While grieving, the families of the victims and this mom had to question the overall construction quality of their building, questioning the developer for cutting corners and causing the poor quality. Why else could the windows have been blown off by high winds? This suggests the long-standing poor quality issue of the infrastructure in China. It's a whole other topic. Thank you for watching China Insights. We'll see you next time.